Buddy. This is the Dare Show podcast. Um, and I want to just talk about Cowboy Carter, like a chunk of it, because it's a very long album, and I don't have the capacity to sit here and talk about it for like 2 hours. There's some things I wanted to say just to get off my chest. Oh my god, my Instagram, if you want to follow me there or whatever, is Mylovemyneedtonight. Let's just talk about Cowboy Carter right quick. Um, she put out a statement. I don't know where she put it initially out at, but Variety has the statement about how she created it a little bit. She said it took over 5 years. It's been really great to have the time and the grace to be able to take my time with it. I was initially going to put out Cowboy Carter first, but with the pandemic, there was too much heaviness in the world. We wanted to dance, we deserved to dance, but I had to trust God's timing. Uh, she said she put on 5 Western films that inspired different songs throughout the album. One thing I found was The Harder They Fall. I found that hilarious. Like, how did you. That just came out. How did you. Never mind. My process is I typically have to experiment, and that is probably where I have a slight problem with, um, because I feel like some of the experimenting is very good and it's complimentary, but then other times it's just like, oh my god, we're doing too much. We need to calm it down a little. Like, not even calm it down. We're just doing too much. I enjoy being open to have the freedom to get all aspects of things I love out. And so I worked on many songs. I recorded probably 100 songs. Girl, you record 100 songs every 2 weeks. Like, I don't know why she needs to tell us that. Like, I feel like that's her norm to just record a bunch of songs. I'm constantly making music. I feel like she's always doing that. Once that is done, I'm able to put the puzzle together and realize the consistencies and the common themes, and then create a solid body of work. For the album, an homage to country, blues, and black folk, Beyonce saw. Wait, why did I read that? Because I thought she said that, but now I'm reading it. She did not say that. Beyonce sought to use real instrumentation, including the accordion, washboard, and pedal steel guitar. She makes it a point that she used her nails as percussion, like Dolly did in 9 to 5. All the sounds were organic and human, everything like the wind, snaps, and even the sound of the birds and chickens, the sounds of nature. I'm trying to figure out what song had sounds of chicken and nature. Okay, whatever. She explained. She also revealed that the character of Cowboy Carter was inspired by the original black cowboys of the American West, noting that the term cowboy was used to belittle former slaves as boys. She created Cowboy Carter to negate and connotate and highlight the strength of resiliency of these men who were true definition of Western fortitude. 5 years it took long to make. The credits, okay, whatever. I was kind of shocked at how much Jay Z had a writing credit on the album. I was not expecting that. I think people are going to be surprised because I don't think this music is what everyone expects, but it's the best music I have ever made. And as a fan of this lady for many, many years now, um, I have to say, I don't agree. I don't agree this is the best music she's ever made. Honestly, I feel like I maybe maybe just personally, I do like country music, definitely. Um, And I do enjoy some of some of the mashups that she's put on this album. But I honestly feel like Renaissance is probably the best cohesive music that she's made. It's personal, it's not personal, it's like this fantastical world. It honestly, I could think of to compare Renaissance to an album. I think I would compare it to Donna Summer's "Once Upon a Time." Like that's a really, really, really great. Where is everything at? That's a really, really great album, and that's what I would compare it to. But I wanted to first say, yeah, I just don't agree that it's the best music that she's made because at times it's like, what am I listening to? And sometimes in a good way, sometimes in like there's a couple songs on the album that I haven't like. Look, it took me forever to actually get through the entire album because there is so much going on and so much to digest. I'm still not done digesting it, but on the first part that I'm gonna talk about from American Requiem to Daughter, I've digested that. That's easy to digest. It's a little bit more of my speed. I love the stripped down Beyonce. I love the harmonies and the beautiful intricacies of her voice and the harmonies and what she puts together. Like this is like my jam right here. Uh, but I just first wanted to say that. Oh, why did Beyonce make this album? I was talking to my cousin who's not a big fan, and she was like, she's. I don't want to call her a hater, but she's borderline haterish, and she's a little bit argumentative. And she was just like, why did she make this album? Does she want to like pander to like a new audience? Why can't she just stay in her own lane or whatever? And I'm just like, well, it started with the CMT Awards and what they did to her, not completely welcoming her. And she definitely addresses that on the album. But also, it's like, it's for basically that's what it was. That's what I see it as her saying, I'm not just one thing. I'm not sh- uh I don't have to stay in one genre as a black woman, as a black artist, as an artist, which is really important to show and express because other white artists have done other genres of music and they've been very successful at it. They've been very accepting we as a black community are very welcoming and accepting. I don't know if it's by will or it's just by like the charts or whatever, but we're very accepting of other artists. Oh my god, right now we're very accepting of other artists and like Katy Perry and Adele, they both have like R&B and number one R&B and rap charting songs. So, but then it's more difficult for a black artist to go into country and have a successful artist. I believe Beyonce was like the first female artist, first black artist. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what they say. To have what like a number one album or number one song in like 60 years or something like that. It's ridiculous how black artists are not accepted to branch out and be successful into other genres. And for my cousin to be like, why can't she just stay in her own lane or why is she just now doing it? I'm just like, well, I don't think I think we all definitely grow up listening to different music, but then you branch out as an artist. I think that's her job to branch out and do other things, and it's a part of like evolution at the end of the day. I kind of want to go into my cousin, but I'm not gonna go in on my cousin because that's not nice to do on YouTube. But anyways, Dolly Parton. A couple things I wanted to get off my chest. Dolly Parton earlier this year or late last year, she was like asked if Beyonce was to do a song by her, which song would she want her to do? And because Dolly does not, she's a very much Diane Warren type singer, songwriter. I'm not gonna necessarily share publishing with you. She was just like, I want her to do Jolene. And I'm like, Dolly was like, if she were to do a song, I would like her to do Jolene, but I don't know if she will or she won't or whatever, whatever. And I'm like, Dolly, that's bullshit because Dolly, you had to clear her to do Jolene. At some point, you knew she recorded the song. Maybe you didn't know it was going to be on an album. But in order for her to do the song, you had to have known that in order for her to do the song, you had to have cleared it as on the only songwriter. You had to have cleared it. So that's some bull, Dolly Parton. Stop playing with the people. She got caught up. She didn't know how to answer, so she had to revert to something else. I don't believe there's any videos. I don't know what the hell that Texas Hold'em thing that we saw 300 months ago at this point. I don't believe there's any videos because if there were videos, I don't think there's a series of videos at least because if there were videos, the artist on the album would have known about it. But then you have to think about the artists on the album didn't even know they were on the album until the album came out. So why would they be in a video and didn't know that the album was coming out or she was even making an album or yada yada yada. So it's just like you can, at this point we got to put things together just to make it right. So the previous video that I made, I talked about how this has been a messy rollout, and honestly, it really has. From the vinyl and the CDs missing songs to this QR code thingy on the picture on the poster and the CD that I have, to like the CD has no writing on it at the CD has no writing on it, and that might have been like, and for this to be a 5 year. I was talking to somebody on Twitter last night. For this to be a 5 year project, how are all these hiccups and weird things going on happening? I think that we all know. I believe we all know at this point that the album probably was changed. The album title was changed. Um, Riverdance. So I did listen to the CD version. The CD version, if you don't know, Riverdance has a little bit more background, or they have like different backgrounds, I believe. Riverdance is not my favorite song, so it took me forever to actually listen to it fully and not get annoyed or get exhausted or just not annoyed. Get okay, it becomes annoying. But it took me forever to listen to it. But Riverdance, I believe, has a little different. For sure, Two Hands to Heaven. At the end where she's like, I've been waiting my whole life. There's like one part, and then there's another part where she's like extended that, and it's a little bit more ad libby, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense because why would this vocalist not just have like 2 bars of her going off on a song on ad libs? It didn't make sense. So there are more ad libs on Two Hands to Heaven, and then Tyrant the Hangman, da na 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 na. That part on Tyrant, the outro has a little bit more to it. The outro and the intro are the same, but it has a little bit more on the outro part. So that's interesting. And then the whole My Sir, My Rose situation, where they're speculating, people are saying she may have like changed it at the last minute from My Sir to My Rose. That song, okay, knowing that is called My Sir on the CD, and I think the vinyl maybe, or just the CD is coming up as. It, like, you don't want to speculate because it's weird about her child, but then it's just like, what else are we left to do but speculate? Because you're not really giving us a whole lot of information. And then for this song, at this point, the song could have been made. The song has been made in the last 5 years. Let's say 5 years ago. What are they, like 7 now? They were like what, four, 4 or 5 or something like that. I don't know. They're young, but it's just like, I feel like these are such progressive and adult lyrics and intimate lyrics. What does this have to do with a 5-year-old? Now, there are some speculation from a certain sector of the hive about why Sir is not shown a lot or whatever, or he's not in the public eye, let's say, as much as, even as much as Rumi. But so it's just like, I have my own idea. If you want to know, hit me up and I'll let you know. What else do I want to say? Her voice. I feel like the mixing in some of the songs, the music is in the background, and her voice on the lead is very much prominent and very much heard a lot more than the music, which I found very interesting. And then this other thing for me, when you release so much music, like I really didn't need another Beyonce album, maybe for another like 6 months to a year, or even that. Like, okay, I was kind of getting a little burnt out on Renaissance, but it's just like I wasn't yearning for another album so quickly. And I just feel like when you make so much music in a short amount of time, some of the music, either the lyrics become redundant or the lyrics become ridiculous, or like the music itself is just like kind of boring. And some of the songs towards the end are kind of boring to me. But I'm not talking about the ending, so I think that's all I want to say. Let me talk about American Requiem. Basically, she's saying, which I completely loved it. Oh my god. I completely loved it from the beginning. That American Requiem, she's basically saying to the white people, I'm no different than you, bitch. Like, I was born in the South. My dad's from the South. My whole family's from the South. We listen to this music too, bitch. We dress like you too, bitch. We may not act like you, but we definitely, you know, we're here. And it's a funky, good song. I really love it. I do really enjoy American Requiem. Uh, Even though there's a lot of repetition in it, it's a really fun jam. Blackbird. So Blackbird is one thing about one thing I thought was gonna be, shout out to Carrie Underwood, who's not on this album, that I thought was going to be on this album. Like I've said before, Carrie Underwood and Beyonce have a lot of similarities, and the Beyonce's Grammys, and then Carrie Underwood and the CMT CMA Awards situation, where where they're always being nominated for a certain category, but they're not being rewarded for that category. And the certain fans see this see the similarity, or certain fans see that they've been snubbed many times. And I feel like not only I've to me, wait, I can even show you. First of all, for this album to be called Beyonce is funny because my playlist for her is named Beyonce with Christina's surname. But then Carrie Underwood, for me, Carrie Underwood is the country Beyonce, because Carrie Underwood, Lady Gaga, these women, they have such soulful voices, and they've produced she produces such great music, and honestly it does keep getting better over time. She's really great ballads, really great up tempos, really great duets, really great lyrics. This is a really great artist right here, and I was really kind of expecting her to be on here, but okay, oh well, or not. She's not here. Um, Blackbird. But Blackbird, the thing about Blackbird being on this album, no, 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 no. The thing about, I've kind of, in my opinion, I kind of feel like it's a little, is the word redundant? It's a little counterproductive to sing certain colored skinned artist songs. Because I'm like, if you're trying to prove yourself in a sense, trying to show yourself in a sense, I don't think, well, maybe that is the point to get a hit. You sing a popular song. So, okay, oh well. But Blackbird, I like Blackbird from the beginning. The only thing about Blackbird that I've seen online, and I do agree with, is that people are saying, who are these other four ladies that is on the song? I only literally, I can only hear, maybe because the blend is so tight, I thought it was all Beyonce. I can maybe point out two other voices, but for you to say there's five voices on this song, right? Let me go back. I find that to be startling. One, two, three, four. Wait, are there five voices? Yeah, there's five voices on this album, on this song. And I'm like, what? And then they were like, there's five voices on the song, but we only, literally, I only hear about two. Like I said, I can point out three if I had to. And then somebody was like, well, the point was for you guys to go and listen to each of their own material. And it's like, well, why do I have to do that when I could just hear their voice on one song? That's the only criticism that I have about Blackbird. Which, oh, by the way, this section that I'm talking about from American Requiem to Daughter, this is a little sad section I kind of see. It's a little sad. It's a little. Somebody didn't know. Oh, somebody didn't. I picked it up immediately on American Requiem that it was about the CMT situation, the CMA Awards, and her not being welcomed. And I picked it up immediately because somebody that I follow from the UK was like, "Oh, this is about racism and the Jim Crow laws." I'm like, "Well, yeah, well, not literally, but the modern, racism and Jim Crow shit that goes on." Uh, which I love that she talked about it. Like, hello, Blackbird, going with this like racism thing. It was the Beatles song. They wrote about the Little Rock Nine, or the girls that were blown up in that church or something. I forget. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, but whatever. It's an important song, and it's an important song to this part of the album. Then we get into 16 Carriages, which is also like flowing with this theme of, in my case, sadness. And it's a little sad if you think about it. The 16 Carriages, talking about a little bit about, a reflect, self autobiography song, kind of, in a way. We've already talked about 16 Carriages, but it felt definitely well. And then we get into a little bit lighter with Protector, and we hear Rumi and her talking about this lullaby. And I kind of want a little bit more background on it. Like, is it actually a lullaby, or did you piece that into this song for it to sound or be the lullaby? A beautiful song. These poetic lyrics, a simple song. It's actually my favorite song, probably top five, definitely. Protector, and it charted very well, I believe. Oh yeah, this album is her eighth consecutive number one album that is a solo album. And then we get into My Rose. Like I said, it's interesting to have such an adult content. I feel about, and like I've heard people say kids these days are a little bit more emotionally mature. So maybe it's something that we don't know about. But also, she's not going to talk about it. But I would do wish she will talk about her music a little bit more. Smoke Hour with Willie Nelson. He's playing all these tracks and he's talking about what is it, the country radio or something like that, which is really fun. And then we get into Texas Hold'em, which is a fun, simple song. The funny thing about Texas Hold'em is that I feel like there were so many more in like the later part of this album songs that could have been released, and I feel like they could have been um they could have been successful also. Uh, I feel like she's kind of gatekeeping, let's say, denim. Wait, what is it called? Levi jeans or Most Wanted, which are definitely going to be number ones. Most Wanted is already number 6. Jolene is number 7. The crazy thing about Texas Hold'em, my cousin that I was talking about earlier, she was saying that it's everywhere, and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't really know. Except for like social media, like I think she's around places that play the radio and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it makes sense that it's everywhere because it was number one for a couple of weeks, and then this past week it was number 6, and now it's back to number 2 on the charts this week. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Texas Hold'em is doing very, very well, and it's a fun song, a fun up tempo song that fits for like that radio vibe that it was going that she sequenced it with, and I like it. I like the sequencing of that, and then we get into it's sort of like a pop fun radio song, and then we also get into this other pop. But I kind of been listening to it. I didn't really like it in the beginning, like I said in my last video, Bodyguard. I didn't really like Bodyguard a lot, but I really love it now. I really, really, really love it now. Bodyguard. I was thinking it's very pop and very annoying, but it's very. It's kind of. I've been listening. Like I said, I've been listening to it, and it's giving me like really heavy R&B with a slight edge of pop onto it. It's a fun, good song with like incredible vocals. Like I love how every the lines just keep going, blurring into each other. They what am I trying to say? The music, there's like no space in between. It just the vocals and the lyrics just keep going, whether it's a oh or a yeah or the vocal moments. I love the vocal moment at the end. I feel like this is gonna be really fun to watch her perform live if she does it. I feel like Bodyguard is a perfect song for her to do, like maybe at a tiny desk or whatever. Jolene, Dolly P. Honestly, the thing that pissed me off, see, here we go. Dolly P pissed me off. The only thing, there's heavy speculation on this album that Lady Gaga was going to be on it. And a telephone, um, let me take a sip of water. A telephone reunion, a telephone secret, what is it called? Part 2, the telephone. Because she was like looking at, there was a bunch of stuff going on right before this album came out. And for Dolly P to call her a honeybee, it's honestly a slap in the beehive and the beehive slash monsters faces that want that. Like, I'm not yearning for it. I don't know what it would sound like. I don't know what it would look like. I'm not yearning for it, but for it to happen, it's gonna be exciting. Just like I wasn't yearning for this new album, but if it to happen, it's very exciting. It's really like, okay, what are we listening to now? What are we gonna get into lyrically now? What do you have to say on this project? But yeah, her calling her honeybee was just like, ugh. And then we get into Jolene. The only thing I didn't like in the beginning about Jolene was the choir. at the end. It was getting very Broadway, and I was just like, I'm not understanding it. I don't understand why we need to have like and there's like these chants and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't get it. But now I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna stick by him, stick by me, or whatever she says. Jolene, I do enjoy, like I was saying before the album came out, I was hoping, I was just like, when you do country music is very specific. It's very storytelling mostly, and honestly, that beat from Dolly P into Jolene is really what gets me. I love that beat and it's a little bit soulful. Also, did I say to you guys that Texas Hold'em is very soulful to me for some reason? After listening to it for a while, I'm just like, oh, I find myself like feeling like I'm in church a little bit. um, but Jolene also has that little like church clap or church stomp to it, and it's very like expressive. It's very the imagery is intense. You can like imagine as me as a person who likes visuals. That's for I think I really loved her so much for the videos, not just because she's shaking her ass or whatever. I really appreciated the visual aspect to having every song have their own little story come to life. And as a person who now does that just automatically with music, I can definitely see like her talking to this Jolene character, like just like a whole like movie in my head. Somebody also, a lot of people were saying that this album sounds like a soundtrack, and I can agree for that. So the last song I'm going to talk about is Daughter. This is where the mashup makes sense, and you kind of feel like, why hasn't anybody done this before? With the guitar playing like these typical guitar chords, and she's talking about. Honestly, the song is a fantasy. I had to like cut that out, make that clear. I think it's kind of clear after she says, "Lord, forgive all these fantasies in my head," because this is a fantasy, and it does go in Jolene. Somebody earlier was on Twitter was like, at the end of Jolene, there's like a gunshot into Daughter. But for me, my interpretation of the song is that it is a fantasy, and that that it's a fantasy that she like killed this lady that's been fucking with her man. And I'm just like, okay. Um, the imagery is insane on this song. The bloodstains on the couture, the attending let you in the bathroom. I think did she kill him too at the in the song or in the fantasy? I think she kills him too. And it's funny because I have wrote. Uh, my grandmother kind of says this all the time, like Lord, like in a way, Lord control my mind when she's like gets really angry because I feel like fantasies can be, fun. They can also be sexual, and then there's also these dark fantasies where the a lady's killing her husband, or ring somebody over, or doing something really illegal. And I feel like people. I love this aspect of the song, calling this retaliation, a fantasy, that even more brings it to life. And you can go so many different ways, especially writing it or visually looking at it. A lot of people didn't know that Beyonce does opera. And I'm just like, where the hell have y'all been? Allegedly, according to TikTok, the Italian girls or whatever they were saying were going up for Beyonce in this opera. I don't think it's an opera piece, but I believe it's a violin piece that she incorporated. And after she does um the cover of the opera part, it goes from this guitar to like a symphony, like the strings and the violin, and that's how the song ends. Like it's really a great song. I think this also I'll put this like number 6 on my list. It's a really, really great song. I appreciate we're actually getting an actual lead vocal opera moment. One thing I love about Patti LaBelle is she has that operatic tone, operatic part of her voice. And in her music, maybe it was just too much at the time or too much. She was never, there was like 2 or 3 songs where she goes into that opera tone. And sometimes it's in the background. I know a lot of Mariah Carey's whistle tones they're in the background. They're not necessarily forefront for whatever reason. But I really appreciate that B did that in a lead vocal to really show a talent that I guess a lot of people don't know about. But like we've been looking at it for years, especially at I think the first time was Destiny's Child. Also, there is, like I said this before in my initial talk about this album, there is so much Destiny's Child influence on this song. Well, not influence, like I feel like there's some. It just like reminds me of Destiny's Child. A lot of Survivor or a lot of early Beyonce by herself. Vocals and the harmonies, especially like starting My Rose off the way that she did. My Rose definitely feels like it could have been like a Destiny Child harmony. Like I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Kelly and Michelle are secretly on this album because it sounds like it. It's just so crazy that and we all know Beyonce and Kelly have the same tone, and sometimes they talk alike. It was so funny and weird and so cute and such a beautiful moment that is what it is. But yeah, I think that's all I gotta say about Daughter. Let me know in the comment below what are your favorite parts or what are your favorite songs on this part of the album. I guess next in a couple days I'll talk about the rest of the album. But I do really this is the first part of the album. Excuse me, the first part of the album is definitely the part that I was able to digest easily and understand and get it. And it's more my speed, like I said. But leave a comment below. I think my favorite from this one are definitely Protector, American Requiem, Bodyguard, and Daughter. Yeah. Like 16 Carriages. For some reason, when it first came out, it seemed like it was such a long song. But listening to it on the album, I kind of hesitate skipping it. But when I don't skip it, it definitely feels like a shorter song for some reason. Also, Texas Hold'em feels like a long song. The Texas Hold'em remix, since we're on that, on Texas Hold'em, the remix is insane. Like, it sounds like a song that I've heard before, or she was like channeling, I don't know what it is. She was like channeling a certain genre. And you know what? At first, I was pissed. And I was confused and I was pissed because I clicked the button to play the song and it was on YouTube. And I'm like, looking at all these comments, like, oh, this is a good song. Oh, this song is amazing. This sounds like this sounds like that. And I'm like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Because I'm listening to the exact same song I've been listening to for the last 2 months. And then finally we get to the remix part. I'm like, okay, okay. But it sounds like a genre or a certain like time period that she was trying to channel. And I don't know. I don't know. If you know what it is, let me know. I really do love the remix. Definitely, it's too short. Like I need just a part. I need that remix on the remix remixed into a loop. All right, this is the Dare Show podcast. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you thought about this album. And honestly, you know what? I also want to say I kind of feel like you don't need to do first reaction reviews because the first reaction for me, it's not necessarily how I feel about the album or how I feel about the song. Because as I listen to it more, you hear different things. You have a different interpretation of it. Like there's so many elements into the first reaction compared to 2 weeks later where you're like, oh, this is what that meant. This is what I'm hearing. I feel like first reactions are so ridiculous. But anyways, this is the Dare Show podcast. Thanks for listening. Leave a comment. You don't have to subscribe, but if you want to, go ahead. Um, Please share if you want to. But I really want to know what you guys think about the album. Well, this part of the album. I'll talk about the rest later. Thanks for listening. Bye.